Well, at the bottom of all this, there was comments about Jean Quan's being elected through ranked choice voting, and so that's going to be happening here in San Francisco soon. San Franciscans are using ranked choice voting for the very first time in a competitive mayoral race. Whether voters find the task of ranking their top 3 from a field of 16 is liberating or daunting is up for debate. And as Scott Shafer shows us, instant runoff voting is making a difference in not only how the mayor's race is won, but how it is run.
So just a quick show of hands, who here is registered to vote already? I do. Excellent.
San Francisco Department of Elections official John Draper has come to this South of Market Senior Center to not only get out the vote, but also explain the method for casting that vote.
Is everyone here familiar with ranked choice voting? Have you guys voted on a ranked choice ballot before? Okay, that's kind of what I figured, so let's go over it.
Draper gives presentations up to 3 times a day as part of a $165,000 outreach program to educate voters still in the dark about ranked choice voting. After marking their first choice on a ranked choice ballot, voters pick their second and third choices in columns 2 and 3. To begin, every voter's first choice is counted. If a candidate gets more than 50% of those votes, they're declared the winner. But if no candidate receives a majority, the candidate with the least votes is eliminated. Those who voted for that candidate will now have their second choice votes counted. The process of eliminating candidates and redistributing votes continues until one candidate has a winning majority.
People ask me about this all the time. Can I just vote for one candidate 3 times? That is a problem because if that candidate is eliminated, we don't have anywhere to transfer your vote. So your ballot will become what we call exhausted.
To find out what would happen if a ballot were exhausted, we met with Francis Matthew in the Department of Elections.
If someone comes to the polls on election day and votes incorrectly, can you sort of describe what happens with the ballot?
Let's do it. Go ahead and feed that ballot into the machine.
Okay. Just like this?
Exactly. Any direction, it'll read it.
And they just put it in.
So it makes the warning noise and returns the ballot. And then up here, it prints irregular voting pattern overvoted rank.
Voters are then given the chance to correct their ballots. But what about those who skip the trip to the polling place?
We've got about 40% vote by mail, I believe, right now.
And of course, those voters are kind of on their own in the sense that they're not going to get anybody telling them, and then the ballot's not going to come back out if they do it wrong.
Yeah, we can't mail one of these machines to every voter, unfortunately.
Strategically placed billboards and bus shelters are all part of the city's multilingual campaign to educate voters. Is the message hitting home? We asked a few San Francisco residents how familiar they were with ranked choice and what they thought of the system.
What do you know about the system we're using to elect a mayor? Do you know what it's called, for example?
Oh, now this is like a little test. Yeah, it's ranked choice voting. I like the fact that we're not having to spend the money for a second election, which always seemed extremely wasteful to me. So I'm willing to give it a try.
When you ask 9 people what their favorite thing to eat is, they could all have 9 different things to say and you wouldn't get any answers. But if you said rate your top 3 choices, then maybe you'd get more of a consensus.
This one here.
That's who you're going to vote for?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's one.
Now, you know you get 3 votes, right?
Yeah, that's the same all over the bus. This time's the same this time.
So you're going to vote for him?
Yes.
3 times?
Yes, correct. Yes.
Yeah. Now,
There's nothing else.
There's nobody else you like?
No.
Yeah. So, but you get 3 votes, so you can vote for
fine.
3 different people.
That's right.
You're not going to use that?
No. I like the only one, this one here.
You put it in there, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
San Francisco voters passed ranked choice, or instant runoff voting, in 2002. But this is the first time it will be put to the test in a competitive mayoral race, changing not only the way voters cast their ballots, but also how candidates campaign for their vote.
I would be honored for you to consider me to be your first, second, or third choice. Thank you very much.
I, too, will ask for one of your 3 votes.
The values built into ranked choice voting is that you have to have both a certain strong core of support and a broad base in order to win. If you have one or the other, you won't win. If you have both, you have a good chance of winning.
Stephen Hill has long championed electoral reform. He was the driving force behind both ranked choice voting and public campaign financing in San Francisco. He says the instant runoff system eliminates the cost of low turnout runoff elections and gives more citizens a say in who wins. And he believes it cuts down on political mudslinging.
It does have a tendency to clean up the campaign debate a little bit. You know, if I'm running against you, and I may need the second rankings from your supporters. If that's the case, I have to be more careful what I say about you. Doesn't mean I can't still criticize you or take a position opposed to you, but I have to do it more on principle instead of just completely trashing you.
Thank you guys all for coming, and thank you for waiting.
In fact, rival candidates Dennis Herrera and David Chu did appear very friendly at a joint press conference in September. But afterward, Herrera admitted he does have mixed feelings about the ranked choice system.
Certainly with ranked choice voting, there has been some benefit in terms of collegiality, but I wonder whether it's made it more difficult to really discern real distinctions amongst the candidates.
So the challenge for voters is now you have 12, 14 candidates running citywide at the same time, and the differences on issues become one of shades. And voters look at this mass of candidates, and it's hard to differentiate among any of them. Now that plays out very well for Ed Lee, I should note. That's beneficial to him as a candidate. Incumbents have not lost ranked choice elections in the Bay Area, and so the reality is most incumbents end up being on other people's second and third place ballots.
Are you ready to vote? Yeah! Let's go out and vote!
On the first day of early voting, Mayor Lee staged a rally, then led the crowd to City Hall, casting his own ranked choice ballot. Even though he may benefit from an instant runoff, Lee has concerns about whether voters understand how ballots are counted.
A lot of people still are saying they don't understand what happens to their vote, and that causes some confusion.
The thing about ranked choice is that the leader on election night can end up losing, as candidates are eliminated and their votes are redistributed until someone gets a majority. That's exactly what happened last year in Oakland's mayoral contest. State Senator Don Parada was first with 35%, followed by City Councilwoman Jean Quan at 24%. But Quan had more second and third place votes. That was her strategy. And after several days of tabulation, she edged out Parada 51 to 49%.
I'm not bitter personally, but it seems to me that we all shouldn't be talking about this at this point of an election in San Francisco. If you're talking about how the election works, as opposed to who's running and what are they saying, there's something wrong.
A lot of eyes are on San Francisco for this election because a lot of jurisdictions are thinking about experimenting with this, and this could be the test case for how it works very well. It could be a test case of how it works very poorly.
Well, at the next election, we'll be finding out. It appears, though, that ranked choice voting is not the only issue grabbing attention in the upcoming elections in San Francisco, and Rachel Gordon is here to tell us now, what are all of the things that are making news about this election?
There are a lot of October surprises out there. This is less than 2 weeks before the election, although people started voting several weeks ago, so there have been about 30,000 ballots cast already in San Francisco, and they'll keep going through this weekend and with absentees. But the big issues that are out there now, there's a lot of issues swirling around voter fraud that on behalf of Mayor Ed Lee. Now, this is something that some folks who are independent of his campaign have been accused of doing, going to Chinatown, helping people fill out ballots, like almost taking their hands and going, here's Ed Lee. And in fact, folks said they even had stencils there so you couldn't fill in anyone else's name. The district attorney is investigating those charges. Some of Lee's rivals are coming out and saying that they want state and federal elections investigations on this behavior. And Ed Lee himself has come out now and said, if that's true, what they did is moronic. I don't want their help. Thank you. Cease and desist. No more. So that's one of the issues that's still out there. It's got some legs. Definitely his rivals are bringing it up. Another issue that broke this week was kind of interesting. There was a front page story in the Chronicle about some accusations made about City Attorney Dennis Herrera. And the accusation was that he wasn't as strong as he could have been or should have been in the 2004 legal battle for same-sex marriage in San Francisco. Dennis Herrera, who's a city attorney then and is now running for mayor, said that's absolutely ridiculous. He has been with that issue from the get-go. But these were some anonymous sources from the Gavin Newsom's administration, mayoral administration, who said, yeah, eventually he came on, but he was slow going at the start. Interesting, it's coming out now simply because the gay vote in San Francisco is still an extremely powerful vote. I watched Herrera try to take it to his advantage, though, this week, that he went, all right, I'll show you what people think about me. And he had State Senator Mark Leno, Assemblyman Tom Amiano, Supervisor Scott Wiener, all gay politicians, elected officials, and other community activists coming out and saying Dennis was with us from the get-go.
Okay, you've got 14 others out there. What are some of the other things that are bouncing
off
the wall?
Those are the big ones. We're going to continue hearing about the Central Subway project. That's the rail extension into Chinatown that a lot of the candidates are going for. But they're going to start hammering a lot, too, on the campaign finance reports. The new ones came out yesterday, so they're going to look not only how much money have the candidates raised, how much do they have in the bank, but really take a close look at the independent expenditures, because there is not a limit in the mayor's races to the candidates' own campaigns. You could give up to $500. You could give as much money as you want to with the independent expenditures for or against candidates, and we're starting to see that play a lot. There have also been some allegations that money there's some hanky-panky going in around there with some of Lee's supporters. Leland Yee has tapped into, the state senator who's running has tapped into a lot of independent expenditure money on his behalf from the teachers unions, nurses and stuff. We are being inundated in San Francisco with robocalls, with mails coming in, the stacks this big every week. I don't know if the voters are paying attention, if they're going enough.
Okay, let's get to the big issue, the DVD for Ed Lee.
Right, there's a great DVD. This was put on by some of his wealthy supporters, but it was Brian Wilson, Giants fan, with saying it's kind of a hip-hop rap video for Ed Lee. He didn't have anything to do with it. It was his supporters, but it went viral. It's really kind of fun to watch.
Yeah, you hear that a lot from Ed Lee. He didn't have anything to do with it.
Yeah, didn't have anything to do with it.
You don't usually think of Ed Lee as being hip either,
yeah, well, that's
in any
the thing.
meaningful
that's
way,
the funny
right?
thing. He has some good dance moves, especially when you use the computers to manipulate what he's looking like. But we're going to start hearing a lot more. It's winding down in terms of what the messages are going to be. We're seeing is there something else that's going to come out, but now they're getting their messages out. And we talked about ranked choice voting. People are really trying now for that second and third place vote. And we can't ignore the whole Occupy SF thing. I mean, you brought that up, that this could have real consequences. Right now, Ed Lee's been fairly lucky with it, that there haven't been horrible things happening. He has had people in his office talking about it.
Would it be fair to say, though, that this is probably the most controversial issue that he's had to deal with?
Potentially it could be. You've seen several of his mayoral rivals there at the camp with supporters. John Avalos, the supervisor, David Chu, the Board of Supervisors president, others at Leland Yee have been out there in support of the protesters. So it's going to be an interesting one.
Candidates, you did a great job. Thank you, Rachel.